I never imagined that a single word, yes, could quietly rearrange my entire life. At the time, it didn't feel dangerous or dramatic. It felt like compromise, like love, like marriage. My name is Emily Carter, and for 12 years, I believed my marriage to Daniel Carter was strong because we communicated. We talked about everything: finances, careers, dreams, even fears we didn't fully understand. Or at least, that's what I thought. Daniel had always been the thoughtful one. Calm, analytical, the kind of man who weighed every decision carefully. I was more emotional, more instinctive. Together, we balanced each other. Or so I believed. The idea came on an ordinary Sunday evening. Dinner dishes were drying in the rack, the television murmured in the background, and the rain outside tapped gently against the windows. Daniel sat across from me, fingers laced together, his eyes focused but distant. "There's something I've been thinking about," he said. That sentence alone should have warned me. I smiled casually. "You look serious. Should I be worried?" "No," he said quickly, then paused. "Well, I don't think so." He explained that over the past year, he'd been feeling disconnected, not from me, he clarified, but from himself. From life. He said routine had dulled his sense of excitement, that he feared becoming emotionally stagnant. I listened, nodding, genuinely concerned. Marriage has phases, I told myself. This was normal. Then he said it. "What if we tried something different?" he asked. I leaned forward. "Different how?" Daniel spoke slowly, choosing his words carefully. He suggested a period of intentional emotional independence. Not separation. Not distance in the physical sense. Just space to explore individual growth. New experiences. New perspectives. He insisted it would strengthen us. "It's about trust," he said. "About knowing we choose each other freely, not just by habit." The idea felt strange, unsettling. My chest tightened, but I didn't want to seem closed-minded. I didn't want to be the wife who held her husband back from self-discovery. "What exactly does that mean?" I asked. He explained rules. Transparency. Honesty. No secrets. He framed it as an experiment in emotional maturity, something modern couples sometimes tried. He reassured me again and again that our bond wouldn't be threatened. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, exhaustion blurred my doubts. Daniel looked hopeful, almost relieved, as if my agreement would validate something he'd already decided. So I said yes. The first few weeks felt quiet. Daniel stayed later at work. I joined a local art class I'd always postponed. We smiled at each other politely, like roommates learning new boundaries. I told myself this was growth. But slowly, things began to change. Daniel became lighter, more energized. He hummed while making coffee. He checked his phone more often. When I asked about his day, his answers were vague but cheerful. I, on the other hand, felt like I was shrinking inside my own home. One evening, while folding laundry, I noticed a smile on his face as he typed on his phone. Not the casual kind. The private kind. When he noticed me watching, he turned the screen down. "It's just work," he said. I nodded, but something inside me shifted. The space he wanted was expanding, quietly pushing me toward the edges. Weeks passed. I began to question everything. Had I misunderstood the rules? Had I misunderstood him? One night, I finally asked, "Daniel, are we still okay?" He looked surprised. "Of course we are. But his eyes didn't linger on mine. The moment that changed everything came unexpectedly. I was cleaning out the guest room closet when I found a notebook I didn't recognize. It wasn't hidden, just forgotten. I didn't intend to read it. Truly. But my name was on the first page. Inside were thoughts, reflections, doubts, and confessions Daniel had never shared with me. He wrote about feeling powerful in new conversations, about being seen differently, about enjoying attention without responsibility. One sentence burned into my mind. I didn't realize how much control I felt until Emily stepped back. Control. That night, I waited for him in the living room. When he came home, I held up the notebook. Is this what you meant by growth? I asked quietly. His face drained of color. We talked for hours. Or rather, I talked. He listened, interrupted, defended, and finally went silent. The truth came out slowly. He hadn't crossed lines physically, but emotionally, he had wandered far. He had enjoyed the freedom too much. The idea hadn't been about mutual growth. It had been about testing limits without accountability. I didn't think it would hurt you like this, he said. That sentence hurt the most. I realized then that saying yes hadn't made me supportive. It had made me invisible. The next morning, I packed a small bag and stayed with my sister. Not out of anger, but clarity. For the first time in years, I chose myself without guilt. Distance changed things, but not the way Daniel had imagined. He called, apologized, reflected. The confidence he once wore so easily faded into humility. Meanwhile, I rediscovered parts of myself I had set aside for marriage. My voice. My instincts. When we eventually sat down again, weeks later, the conversation was different. I don't know if we can go back, I said honestly. Daniel nodded. I know. We chose counseling. Not to save the marriage at all costs, but to understand it truthfully. Some relationships end with betrayal. Ours cracked under imbalance and unspoken power. Whether we stay together or not remains a chapter still being written. But I know this much. Saying yes changed everything, not because the idea was bold, but because it revealed truths we had both avoided. And sometimes, the most life-changing moment isn't the mistake itself. It's finally seeing what the mistake taught you.